is an interview with Gwen Owens, and she is a member of the group Hot. I don't know whether or not you may have been familiar with this group. However, they were out in the early or the late part of the 70s and had one of the hits, one of their many hits was Angel in Your Arms, which Gwen here was the lead singer, correct?
Yes.
Okay. What we're going to do this on this particular program is we're going to discuss how her career got started, who inspired her, and from whence she came, and where she's going on with her life right now. So, Gwen, where are you from?
Detroit, Michigan.
And you now reside here in California?
Yes, I've lived here since 1971.
Since 71, okay. What schools did you go to back in Detroit?
I graduated from Pershing High School, and I went to Macomb County Community College and took some classes at Wayne State University.
I see. Well, who were some of the people that inspired you to go into music? Or who said, well, Gwen, I think you should sing, or did you just say it?
Well, no, I was in junior high school, and they had a talent contest, and I entered, and one of the teachers in junior high school thought that myself and there was a couple of other girls there that used to sing around the school that we should go over to a recording studio. Well, when we went as 12 people. It was a 12-piece ensemble.
Back in those days, that was the thing.
Yeah, well, the record company says, come back when you got 4 people, break it down. And I didn't give it much thought after that until I got to high school. And one of the guys who came and saw one of the programs in high school said, what are you doing after school? And I said, homework. He says, well, would you like to come over to this recording studio? And I did, and I went in and started recording. I was about, I think, 14 or 15, I think.
And from that point on, okay, when did the group Hot start?
Hot came about after I had been a solo artist for a number of years, and with the producers that produced Hot. And I had recorded on Casablanca and a couple of other labels as a solo artist. And we went to Motown. My producers went to Motown as a production company with me. And I had a limited contract that if they didn't release anything on me within a certain limited time, that my contract would be free. I could go someplace else. But my producers, they forgot to see that their contract was like that. They were stuck there. So I left and went on and started to do some things on my own. I went with the Wolfman Jack Review and things like that. Well, when they got free and they called me and said, how would you like to come back and record with us? And I said, well, wait a minute, let me introduce you to something I've been doing. I've been working with 2 other ladies, and we have a real nice sound. I think you'll like it. And they just went on my word. If I said the girls were good, and they just sent us an airline ticket, and we went down and started recording. Everybody thought it was a put-together group because one lady was white, one was black, and one was Hispanic.
That made automatically, especially if you were a radio announcer, that made you think that, they're going for a new type of audience, a new type of sound. But that's not how that occurred at all.
No, as a matter of fact, the Hispanic lady, Juanita Curiel, Hispanic lady in the group, came along afterward. Kathy Carson and myself and a young lady named Irene Cathaway, who was also Hispanic, we worked with Wolfman Jack Review. And so when my producers called me, because I had been a solo artist, called me and asked me to come and record again, Irene Cathaway went back on the road with Robert Goulet. So when we went down, it was just Kathy and myself. When we came back, we needed a group, right? So we put the word out that we were looking for a third person, not knowing that another Hispanic lady would come and answer. Right, and as she was walking across the street, her hair was just flowing, and she looked so beautiful coming across the street. My manager said, if that girl can sing, she's got a job. And when she walked in and sang with us, that was it. She had a job. At that time, we were called Sugar and Spice.
I remember I heard of that, Sugar and Spice, okay.
We did his review, and then when my producers got free, they called me to come and record again, because I had recorded with them as a solo artist. We recorded for Casablanca and a couple other labels. I'm not sure of all of them, as a solo artist.
And you write songs as well, correct?
Oh, yes.
Has anyone else done any of your songs other than yourself? Who else?
No, to be honest with you, I don't know.
Okay.
I know that I have done 5 on my 3 albums, written 5 songs, and I wrote a lot of other things that I'm trying to track down to find out where they are at this time. But with publishing company, they may be with, because publishing companies sell their whole catalogs, and you have to track your music down. and I've been out of the business for a while. So.
I know there's a differential in the music between Hot and Master P or whatever, but these people today have an opportunity to have their own companies, own publishing, get all of the money and whatever. How hard was it back in the day to do that for a black person?
It was almost impossible, especially for females. See, when you go back to the day when our thing was coming about, females had a hard time, period. First of all, they didn't give us very much respect as writers. We were thought of as, sing and look pretty. That's it. And when you wanted to write, okay, well, we'll see what you got. Then if they accept your song, then you say, well, we have our own publishing company. Can we have 50%? Well, that's unheard of. They want all of the publishing. That's why I was saying I'm not sure where some of my songs are. I've got to track them down and find out what publishing company has them, because we had to give up all of our publishing at that time. So it was almost impossible. Nowadays, it's
They make all the money.
yeah, they've got it all. They got their publishing. They have their own record labels. It's a whole new ballgame now.
Well, certainly people like yourself and Aretha and other people have definitely paved the way for the younger generation today. Well, I got a couple of pictures I want to put up that I have of you. This one of you. Where was this? At a pool.
Yes, it was.
Okay,
It was at H.B. Barnum's house. For those that may know H.B. Barnum, he directs for Aretha, and he used to do some things with the OJs. And he's a well-known arranger. He does some of the award shows. He does the Lou Rawls Parade of Stars. He's the musical director.
And a very good friend of yours.
Yes.
You've known him for quite a while.
Not a year.
Quite a while. We'll just say quite a while. And this is at the
This
piano?
was also at his house at the piano.
Okay.
It's probably, you know what? I bet that was when I was auditioning for him. When I first met him, someone introduced me to him when I first came to California, and I went to audition for him. And I had the worst throat. I was so hoarse that day. But some people that really have a good ear can tell. They can hear beyond that. And he called me I didn't hear from him, and I thought, I blew this audition. He called me about 3 months later and says, I got something for you in Brazil. And he did arrangements for me and put me on a plane to Brazil to the Seis Festival Internacional da Canção Popular.
I could never say that. Say it again.
I don't think I said it correctly. It actually was the sixth festival, the Portuguese festival that they have in Brazil, where they invite from all the countries.
And all the cultures.
Right. And when I got there, I went as a guest artist. But afterwards, while I was there, I met a writer from Paris. He's actually from Lebanon. And this is gonna really blow you, because it really blew my mind. His name is Gabriel Yared.
Okay.
Gabriel just won an Academy Award. I believe it was 2 years ago. And I could just die because I can't think of the song he won it for. And he was nominated again this past year.
Well, he's a singer or a songwriter?
He's a songwriter.
Songwriter.
And he had wrote a song back at the festival in 1971, and he needed a singer. And that's how I was introduced to him. And I wrote the lyrics for the song that we entered into the festival. And the song won third place.
Okay.
A lot of political things, but I won't go into it.
Yeah.
And I won first place for the best vocalist.
Okay.
And I haven't seen Gabby in, how many
How many
years?
years?
Yeah, I can't wait to see him so I can remind him.
Where was this picture taken? That's Tom Jones there.
Yes, it is. This is a collage of pictures. This was taken at the Sahara in Lake Tahoe.
Maybe I should turn around and show the people.
Right.
Okay.
That was at the Sahara in Lake Tahoe with Tom Jones. And this was with Nancy Sinatra, and that was probably taken at the Sahara in Las Vegas.
And the other one is a single of you?
That's a single shot of me because I was a solo artist at that time.
Okay. This is you performing here.
Yes.
This is performing. Where is this?
That's the group I was telling you about, the Wolfman Jack Review.
Okay.
And this is Kathy, I believe that's Irene Cathaway in the center, and then myself.
Look at that, yeah.
That was the first Sugar and Spice group.
I see.
That was the beginning of the hot thing, of me thinking of a group in terms. And it was we had such a beautiful sound.
You said the Wolfman Jack tour?
Wolfman Jack Review. It was a tour.
It was a tour, wasn't it, around the country?
Yes,
and the
it
world?
was.
Okay.
It was a tour around, and it was really a good review.
Tell me, before we go into any more pictures, tell me some of the other people that you've worked with or been around, recorded with, and have helped you along the way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some of the good people that you've met.
My memory is so bad.
Mine
But
is
I
too.
can remember I worked with Raquel Welch.
Okay.
I
Lou
worked
Ross.
with, yeah, Lou Ross. Well, I was going to get to him.
Okay,
That was
Lou
the
Ross.
last person that I worked with before I semi-retired.
Okay.
I worked with Anne Margaret, Jose Feliciano.
Mhm.
Oh, I'm going blank here.
Wolfman Jack.
Yeah, Wolfman Jack's
Jack.
review, right?
Okay,
And in the studio, I did a lot of background work with a lot of people. I worked with Billy Preston in the studio,
Mhm.
Stanley Clark. I did some
Stanley
things
Clark is a good
on,
guy.
yeah,
I've met
oh,
him
he's
when
wonderful.
yeah,
And I did some things on Randy Crawford's album,
Mhm.
and oh wow, just
So-
I
so-
mean, I was working. I was regular working.
Let's talk about your childhood and who inspired you.
My mother's side of the family. She went to school with Obie Benson's sister. They lived next door to each other.
Is that right?
Benson of the Four Tops.
Uh-huh.
And my uncle used to sing with Jackie Wilson when they were all kids together. So it's her side of the family that was the musical side. She always wanted to be a dancer and singer. But, you know, back then it wasn't that easy. And so I think she passed the talent on to me.
Okay, all right. And your high school was Persian High School, right?
Yes.
And some great people came out of Persian. Can you remember some of those people to tell about?
Yeah, a lot of great talent came out of Persian. The ones that I remember distinctly were the Dramatics, because I went to school with those guys. The Floaters, Ralph Sampson, the basketball player, Spencer Haywood went there. Donnie Simpson, the disc jockey. I think he's still on BET now. I think.
Yeah, he's still on me.
Yeah, Donnie and his mom and dad is so sweet. They still have their record shop right there in Detroit, and they were playing my record strong back in the day. So a lot of talent. Oh yeah, a lot of talent came out of there.
So you know Ron Banks of the
Yeah.
Dramatics.
Oh yes, I know Ronnie. I went to school with Ronnie's sister Donna.
Is that right?
Uh-huh. Right. She was an excellent singer. She didn't go into the business, but she could sing. There's a lot more to it than just being a good singer and entertainer.
This is true.
The business will kill you if you're not strong.
Tell me some of the bad things that happens in the business. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because you remember when we were talking earlier about the group being an interracial group. When we first recorded Angel in Your Arms was a pop record. It did not really, it went R&B. I think it only went to number 21 on the R&B chart. So that was a pretty nice place for it to be. But pop, it was a big hit. It was a million seller. When the R&B department at the record company heard the album, they said, well, wait a minute. They should be doing R&B, especially when they found out that the lead singer was black. Okay? So we gave them a shot at one of the songs called The Right Feeling at the Wrong Time. In the meantime, my producers had, they were white. They had connections in the South. Well, now they couldn't pull their connections. They had to hold and see what the R&B department was going to do. Then they came back with a song called You Can Do It. It did fairly well. It was a really good song. Then, after playing around with R&B, then my producers said, well, wait a minute. We had the hit pop. Let's stick with what we know. So they came back with You Brought the Woman Out of Me, which was a pop song. But then, you know, you get into a lot of political things that happen in the record company. You were asking about some of the things that can hurt your career in a record company is a feud between two record companies, which happened while our record was out there, and they pulled everything to go after this other label, this other artist on another label. Well, now our record out there just was standing there.
On the shelf, huh?
Exactly, and it was making a noise because the pop artists were waiting for us to come back, the pop audience. Those are the bad things that can happen to you. You just get caught up in the middle of something that you didn't have any control over,
or
not
anything to do with it.
at all. It can be political, it can be anything, and especially if you were female, you know, there's some things to that too. You better take a bodyguard with you.
I can believe you, because I'm sure every single person out there is at you, you know, every minute of the day.
Yeah.
Well, all right. So now let's talk about some of the good things.
Oh, some of the good things.
Yeah.
Was getting to work with some, you know, I growing up in Detroit. The Motown sound was there, but that was not the only sound in Detroit. Detroit was full of music. So there were a lot of artists there. And before Edwin Starr went with Motown, I used to open his act for him.
Okay.
And I remember Stevie coming one night when we were performing. I was opening for Edwin, and Stevie was in the audience. And I asked him if he would come up and do a number with me. Well, Motown artists were under contract. They were not allowed to just sing anywhere. But they had no contract on him playing drums. So he came up and he played drums for 45 minutes. Well, at that time, I was a singer and a dancer. We were so worn out from him playing the drums. We just stood back and just let him finish. Those are some of the good things I remember, working with some of the really talented artists. Well, the first time I saw Ike and Tina Turner, that's what really did it for me.
Yeah.
When I saw Tina Turner, I said, that's it. This is where I'm headed.
Yeah,
You know?
what you wanna do.
Oh.
I remember the first time I seen her.
Mhm.
She's a very electrifying performer.
Oh.
Very electrifying.
Powerful.
Very powerful. And
Powerful.
I want to know where she gets the energy.
I don't know.
I mean, because every single song, she sounds like you can see she's putting in 150%.
100%, that's right.
If not 150 to 200, because
That's
I've never
right.
seen that much energy back to back to back in anyone.
That's correct.
You know,
That's
'cause
it.
that lady could really,
That's
really
it.
perform.
You know what I liked about her was that she reminded me of a male singer. Not that she looked like a male singer, but you remember the male singers were the ones that worked that hard.
Mhm.
The females didn't sweat. They wore the cute little gowns and they sang the little pretty songs. When Tina came out, she had hair flying and legs moving and that's the way Otis Redding and that group used to work.
Did you know any of the? Excuse me for interrupting. Did you know any of the background singers for Tina?
I worked with the former Ikettes. I worked with Robbie Montgomery and Jesse Smith, and there was one other one.
Janice Edwards.
I didn't know Janice. There was one other one. I'm going to think of her name. I can't think of it right now. I worked with them doing background here in L.A., and I found out that they had been the original Ikettes.
Right. And that was one of the reasons that I asked you that, because Janice is a friend of mine, and she used to be one of the original Ikettes back in the day.
Oh, okay.
Probably if you saw her or whatever, you probably will remember seeing her around. But I know how it goes. Okay, well, we're going to go back to some pictures. Here's a picture of you, Juanita, and Kathy. And this was the original?
This was when Juanita had come. Remember I told you the girl that we saw walking across the street so beautiful? This was the original. This was when Hot became hot, when it became the three of us.
Okay.
It became the group Hot.
And these were not this was the three original people here?
No, the three original for the group Hot.
Oh, right.
Now with Sugar and Spice, remember we had another girl.
Right. I remember that was with Wolfman.
And it was ironic that the Hispanic girl was replaced by another Hispanic girl. It was interesting. And everybody thought it was a put-together thing, but it really wasn't. Remember back then, if you were a black artist, you were played on the black stations, and you had to wait and cross over. And everybody thought we were trying to do this so that we could come out pop automatic, and instead of crossing over, come that route. And it's just the nature of the music that my producers wrote. And that sound, Muscle Shoals sound, in Muscle Shoals, Alabama. No, it was in Alabama. They had a soulful sound down there, and so that's why a lot of our stuff it went R&B. Yet we had the pop flavor to it, and they just went with the song they thought was the strongest. When we first went in the studio, we only did 4 sides, and Angel in Your Arms was the throwaway song. We had 3, we had 3 songs that we thought were really going to be hot. As a matter of fact, neither of those 3 made the album. And Angel in Your Arms, somebody at the record company heard it, and their eyes just lit up, and they said, that's the hit.
And it was.
And it was. We were just so shocked.
It's not always what you think is going to be the one that's going to get it. The one that you think that won't make it will be the biggest one that you've ever had.
That's true.
Now, this next picture is a picture of you guys holding up your first gold.
The gold single.
How were you feeling on that day?
Well, it was really exciting for me. Not so much because of the gold record, although, that was an exciting thing. But what was great about it was that my father refused to fly. He was one of those white knuckle flyers. He was not going to fly. And when we heard that I was going to be receiving my gold record and they were going to do this big affair, I sent them 2 first-class tickets. And I recall my sister and cousins were fighting over the extra ticket because they were so sure my father was not going to come. And he looked at them. He had just got out of the hospital. He looked at them and he says, "Who says I wasn't going?" And so it was really exciting because he and my mother both were here.
And where was it? Where was
It was at the Century Plaza Hotel. They had a big banquet thing there.
Okay.
And they presented it to us there.
And how did you feel inside?
Oh, it was great. Yeah, it was good. It was good. You know, because I had been working in since I was a child singing. You know, way back as a teenager. So it was an accomplishment. You know, to finally get a hit record, to finally have a gold record, to finally be with a major label. You know, yeah. That was the sign of that you were successful when you got that gold record.
Okay, the next picture that we have is you guys in Disney World.
Oh
in
yeah,
Orlando?
yeah.
Okay.
That was during grad week at was it 1978 maybe, when Angel in Your Arms had already been a hit, and I think the second album was out, and we were invited to go down there for grad week, and we performed there. That was really nice because you know Disney pays very well.
Oh yes, they do. Yes, they do. For real. And the next picture that we're going to take a look at is just a picture of you guys together.
That's
are those the same people?
Yes, those are the same people. The ones she's going to show now. Those were. I think that was just the 8x10 glossy shot that they do. That was part of the second album. They packaged them with the second album.
This is the second album, right?
Right. And it was called "If That's the Way That You Want It," and that was a really great tune too. That got a little airplay. It was a real good tune. That's the way you want it. You got it. Now this next picture came after the third album, though.
This was the third album.
This was after the third album because Kathy Carson got married, and we replaced her with another lady named Kathy.
How did that happen?
I do not know. We just
you lose one Hispanic, you
and you get Hispanic. I know.
You lose a Kathy, and you get a
Kathy. Just by it was just sheer coincidence, and she came about. And she's a strong writer, and she came to complete the group of Hot because we were continuing on.
You with the same record company?
Oh no, we were not with Big Tree Atlantic at the time. Matter of fact, we were going to Boardwalk Records, and which was owned by Neil Bogart, who used to be with Casablanca when I was with Casablanca, and we were just in the process of. As a matter of fact, I believe we had already signed the contract, and with Bogart and Boardwalk Records, that was the label Joan Jett was on, and some of those acts, and Neil died of cancer. And everybody thought that the company was going to continue on because Neil had been battling cancer for a couple of years, so he hadn't technically been running the company. But you know, when the bank made the deal with Neil, when Neil was gone, the bank doesn't know who's been running the company for 2 years. They know their deal was with Neil, and I think that's what came to. So here again, we were caught up in the middle of
something you had absolutely no control over.
None whatsoever, you know. So we just continued to work live things rather than record at that point. We continued to write as well. I know that one of the songs that Juanita Curiel wrote, I think It Takes the Strength of a Woman, Eloise Laws cut that. So we were continuing to write. By the time we got to the third album, we had, as a matter of fact, I think I have 3 songs that I wrote on the third album.
Moving rapidly along here, the third and final album of Hot, we'll have the audience take a look at that.
Yeah,
and I don't want to be around when the hurt comes.
That was the one that I wrote.
Okay, and if that is what love is all about.
That's what love is all about. I can do without it. I don't think that's on the third album.
If you don't love her when you're
gonna leave her, that's on the first one.
Okay, and why don't
you believe in your man?
Let's take a look at this. What we got side one is Taking My Love for Granted, Slipping Up, Slipping Around, One Man's Woman, if that's what love is all about. Okay, well, Gwen, what are you doing these days? What's going on with Gwen Owens now?
Well, now I have children.
Oh, don't we all?
And they are, they'll be 16 in a couple of months. They're twins, a boy and a girl. And just as my mother passed the talent on to me, I passed it on to them. And they are very powerful. singers, and I'm going to manage their career for them. And then we work in our church. We're members of Calvary Baptist Church of Pacoima, and I'm the musician for the children's choir. And my daughter plays drums, children's choir now, and also helps out in the main sanctuary. My son directs the choirs on occasion, and he's the president of the youth choir Revelation. So we're pretty active in the church right now.
I'm sure that we'll be talking about them real soon in the future. But
Oh yeah, very soon.
that's going to conclude this interview. I thank you very much for joining us, Gwen, and I wish you so much success on these young people that you got coming up, and of course your career as well. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you. Thank you.
He brought me out without a doubt. Somehow I don't know the way, but I'm strong when I'm God gave me a song. I must sing along. Just a minute for them. But I'm so glad. You know he meant it for bad. But I'm so glad my God, he meant it for good. Yes, he meant it for my good. He meant it for my good. And don't you know he meant it for my good. And now I know so defeat. I'm strong when I'm weak. And I hear God all the glory. But every one of tell the story. He meant it for that. But I'm so glad. God meant it. Oh, my good.
This has been Plugged In with your host, Donnie B. Thank you for tuning in. Join us next time for another exciting edition. Now, you're plugged in.